everyone. It's just 11:59. We're about to start our workshop today on breathing. I'll just wait a few moments for everyone to trickle in and make sure my tech is all working. I can open up my live chat in the Facebook group. And if you are here, drop me a hello in the chat so that I know you're here. Maybe you can tell me where you're watching from, how your Monday is going. If you're excited to learn about something that seems so simple, breathing, yet can actually be so powerful and complicated, and actually really help your health if you put in a little bit of time and effort to practice. So again, just waiting a few moments for everyone to trickle in. I know some of you were hoping to catch it live, and I've already gotten a few messages that life and work does come up. So if you were hoping to come live, but you're catching the replay, that's okay. Please still enter your questions. I will do my best to answer them. Just wait a few moments here before I officially get started. Got a million tabs open, so let me just close some of this down and I'll just check in with the Facebook page to see if anyone has any questions. Okay, so hi and welcome to the live breath breathing workshop. Starting to see a few of you trickle in, so that's great. I'll let you get settled for a minute or two. I'll just take a minute to introduce myself. I know I have some of you that are new to the group, so welcome. And I'm Tatiana. I'm the founder and creator of the Move with Ease method. And I run this private Facebook community called Redefining Aches and Aging for Women, because I'm really passionate about helping women overcome the traditional aches and pains of aging. And instead of waking up feeling like we're 80, waking up feeling like we're free to move how we want, confident and ready to take on the activities of our day. My background is physiotherapy, yoga instructor, and mindfulness teacher. And I'm just super excited to bring my knowledge. I'm always learning and growing. It is the best way to challenge our minds and our bodies, is to be open-minded and open-hearted to learn, because we can always learn and grow. It's when we stop, that's when we get into trouble. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. So super excited today for this workshop because, you know, breath is something we all take for granted, even myself. And, you know, as I learn more about it, it's so humbling and it is so cool that something so simple and automatic, when you put an intention and mindfulness practice on it, how much it can actually benefit you and your health, not just physical health, but emotional and even maybe spiritual. Like, I'm not talking about religion spiritual, but just getting really in tune with yourself and your values and needs. So without further ado, let's get started. So if you have a pen and paper, go ahead and grab it. If you don't, you can just use the notes on your phone or something as well. And I want you to close your eyes and just take a notice of how you are breathing. Okay, notice how you are breathing. The simple thing to notice here is, are you breathing in through your nose or mouth? And then on your exhale, notice, are you breathing in through your nose And are you breathing out through your nose? So just naturally what you would do, write that down. Okay, so inhale, nose, exhale, mouth, or whatever your answer was. There's no right or wrong answer. You're just here as an observer, okay? Good. Now, close your eyes and continue to breathe. I'm going to get my phone here as a timer. So what I want you to do is breathe in and out as you would normally. Don't try hard to do it in a special way, because you just want to be able to observe how your regular breathing is, okay? And breathing in, inhale, breathing out, exhale, that's called one cycle of breath. So I want you to count how many times you breathe in 1 minute. So when I say go, I will get you to start counting in your own head. And then when I say stop, you're going to stop counting and write down how many breath cycles you had in 1 minute. Okay, so here we go. Ready, set, go. So remember, inhale and exhale, that's one cycle. I'm still here, keep counting. Good, stop. Write down your number. How many breaths you had for 1 minute, okay? Awesome. Now, on your paper, you're just gonna write these 3 words: belly, rib cage, chest. And then, so that's like in a row, belly, rib cage, chest. And then across the top, just write inhale, exhale. So you've made like a small little graph for yourself, columns, okay? Put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and close your eyes. You don't need to see me, you just need to hear my voice. So close your eyes and start to feel your breath. And with your hands there, they're sort of a cue to help you feel. What are you feeling as you inhale? So right now we're only focusing on the inhale. So obviously you're breathing in and out, but what's happening on your inhale? Just breathe a few times more so that you can really feel what's happening on your inhale. And then open your eyes and write down under the column, inhale, what's happening at the belly, what feels like it's happening at the rib cage, and what feels like it's happening at the chest, right? You wrote down the words belly, rib cage, chest. So when you inhale, what is it that you felt in those areas? Take your time and try to do it how you would normally breathe. Don't breathe in a special way for this workshop or for this little exercise. You just want to be here to observe how you would normally be, okay? And then we're just going to do the same with exhale. So as you exhale, you can do a few breaths with your eyes closed, hand, heart. See if you can notice what's happening at your belly and your rib cage and your chest, and write it down under that exhale column. Okay, take your time. Again, this is not a test. Just be honest with yourself. We're not passing or failing. We're just here as observers of our own body, our own breath. Okay, what did you feel on that exhale? Good. Okay, so you can put your paper off to the side just for a moment. I just want to share a little bit about my journey. So many years ago, when I was just getting into yoga, I was really quite, I don't want to use the word skeptical because I did believe in the physical practice of yoga, but maybe naive is a better word. And definitely, I will admit that I felt like a bit of, I know all this stuff, sitting a little bit maybe on my high horse because I had just finished a lot of schooling, right? I had done 4 years of undergrad at U of T in genetics and biotechnology, anatomy, physiology, all those types of courses, and heavily evidence-based research and teachings because that was ingrained in me from my schooling. And then from there, did a master's degree in physiotherapy at Queen's University, where again, the focus was very science, literature, evidence-based practices, which is really good and super important. I am not discounting my education at all. All this to say is that I went from that kind of, really intense research-based, evidence-based training, then into, finding yoga and using it more for its physical postures, and then getting into my yoga teacher training, where some of the teachings and philosophy almost seemed a little bit woo-woo. There was a huge emphasis on breath connection to chakras and emotions and feelings. And at the time, it felt like a bit of a 180. Although in reflection now, it's actually such a complementing parallel to healing and helping me in my own body and helping my clients truly heal and be able to get into the best health through this foundation of breath. And what I'm trying to get at here is that we, especially in our North American Western society, we tend to really want hard evidence and like prove it to me kind of facts before we really believe and trust something, right? And there's so much value in being open-minded and trusting and believing and just being curious to try new things and challenge ourselves. And so all is to say, it took me way longer than it should have to realize the true value in connecting deeply within and to my own breath. And even to this day, I'm still learning about it and working at it. Just like, I'm almost finished the Oxygen Advantage book. It's a really great book if you're looking for to improve your breath. And, especially in our modern day, we actually, as a whole, don't breathe properly. And in saying that, there's so much now actual research and evidence out there that this is a sort of global phenomenon or crisis because of tech, because of how we work these days, because of, so much advance in technology. It's so great. It's so convenient. We can do everything that we need to from our fingertips, from our devices, but our bodies haven't caught up, right? Our bodies haven't evolved to function that way. So at the expense of our health, technology, the benefits of technology are actually detrimental to our health. So how do we counter that effect, right? We can use our breath work. We can use it as an anchor to help calm us with our central nervous system, right? So we hear this a lot, like parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, rest or relax. There's such a lack of balance these days. I talk about this a little bit in my mindfulness mindfulness 101 workshop, which is under the guides. If you want to go and listen, I explain that a bit more. But long story short, our brains are built to, scan for danger. And when we are in danger, we either fight, flight, or freeze. And nowadays, we don't have those sort of external physical threats, but we have these mental internal threats, right? Whether it's work stress, relationship stress, social media, comparison stress, whatever it is, and we don't run away from it physically. So then we get stuck in it. And breathing is one way we can kind of bring that fight or flight back to rest and relax. So it can help us in crisis, breathing properly. It can help us alleviate pain. Really, it can. And it can help us realize that we're okay and that we're alive in this moment, and what's happening is just in this moment, and we have a choice right now, right? So if you're experiencing like something that's very stressful or very difficult, we have a choice. We can use our breath to anchor it and ground us. Or if we don't have that grounding and anchoring, it can spiral out of control and become very detrimental to our well-being. So even though we think we know something, just because we've been doing it our whole lives, right? You've been breathing since you were born. It doesn't mean that there isn't more to discover, or that there isn't something there that's really important. And if we want to improve, challenge ourselves to be better, alleviate aches and pains, feel less tension, less stress, just feel more light and happy versus heavy and stuck. There is breathing, breath work, such a basic foundation that you've been doing your whole life. But if you're open to trying and improving and learning more about it and finding a more effective way to use it as your foundation and as your anchor, as your home base, that is a great and accessible way to make positive change. And it requires us to be open and vulnerable and being willing to try new things and accepting that it may not be perfect or give us these amazing results day 1, day 2, even 1 or 2 weeks after, right? These kinds of things take practice, because practice makes practice. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. And then when the easier it becomes, the more of the benefits you'll feel when you are in need of it. So a couple of really cool and interesting facts about breathing and why most of us aren't breathing in 2023 is, one, a lot of us are sitting all day, okay? So posture is big. When we sit, when we're typing, when we're working on our devices, inevitably we start to get into a slouch. And so first, if you're slouching, it's just not a very good position for effective breathing. Your diaphragm, which is a muscle under the rib cage, is smushed and pushing against your organs. Your rib cage is locked up and sitting on your hip bones, and there's not a lot of space for that full breath. Even if you were sitting properly all day, if you're someone who, is very upright and has very awesome posture, just the fact that you're sitting a lot, it doesn't, that position just doesn't allow for full challenging breaths, which our body does need. So taking those breaks. Stress, I talked about this a little bit already, but stress can cause us to have a spike in stress hormones. Cortisol is the big one that you've probably heard about. And when we have high levels of cortisol, it causes our breath to be a bit more shallow. But then because your breath is a bit more shallow and it's sending a signal to the brain that there's a threat, there's a danger, there's a threat, there's a danger, it causes stress. So then there's that vicious cycle there. So you're kind of always stuck in this shallow breathing, which causes stress. Stress then causes shallow breathing, okay? But mindfulness through breath can counter that effect. Mouth breathing. Okay, so I don't know what you wrote down, but if you inhaled and exhaled through your nose, that's awesome, because our nose is our main breathing vessel, right? It filters the air. It slows down the exchange of air in and out, which is a good thing when you're not, heavily running or heavily doing exercise. Breathing in and out through the nose not only cleans your air, it warms the air that's coming into your body, right? and it slows down the air as it's coming out of your body. And that's really important because when we exhale out of the mouth, which is actually something a lot of fitness and yoga instructors teach, like inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, that, once or twice to like let shit go or whatever you're doing in that moment, it's fine. But as something to practice all the time is actually it's not good for effective breathing. And here's the reason why. When you exhale through your mouth, the air comes out very quickly and it's a huge dump volume fast, right? And when you breathe out through your nose, still breathing out. See how much longer that took? So that means my exchange of air, my carbon dioxide that I'm releasing out of my body is nice and slow versus a quick voluminous dump. And when you continuously do that all day, like if you're a mouth breather, then it makes your ratio in your blood cells of carbon dioxide to oxygen. There's like a ratio that is important. I don't know the exact numbers, but that's okay. There's a ratio that is important to make you in your brain feel like you're safe and calm. If the exhale dumps out too much carbon dioxide all at once, the ratio gets thrown off, and then it sends a signal to your brain. The red blood cells send a signal to your brain that you're hungry for air. So then you feel this need to like really inhale. And sometimes you might even feel like you want to inhale through your mouth because you're hungry for air. But it's actually because you dumped off too much carbon dioxide on the exhale. So really important to try to breathe through your nose. Now, if you have allergies or you suffer from, I don't know, septum stuff, you've broken your nose in the past and you feel like you can't pass air evenly, just practice. It's actually really cool how your body can adapt, but it will feel like you're hungry for air in the beginning. And it doesn't mean you have to breathe like that all day, but just take maybe a minute or two in the morning, a minute or two at lunch, and just, time yourself for that minute and see if you can breathe in and out through your nose and remind yourself that you are safe and you're calm and you're okay. And you might surprise yourself. The author of Oxygen Advantage, he was a mouth breather, and he actually taped his mouth shut at night to make sure that when he was sleeping, he was breathing through his nose. So that is like, a one extreme in the discipline of nose breathing. I'm not suggesting you do that, but just being mindful to practice it a little bit every day. It doesn't have to be, all day long, because that would be very hard. But just kind of retraining, if your tendency is to mouth breathe, just kind of trying, I can get some air through my nose. And what's really cool is also in that book, he trains people with allergies and asthma. And by using this kind of like mindful training through the nose, their symptoms are alleviated, which is really, really cool, and less mucus and less of those populations feeling like they're gasping for air. Okay, other fun facts I wanted to share with you is that you can actually achieve a flatter tummy with proper breath work. I've experienced this with my own body. I've had three babies, so 3 postpartum bellies to deal with. And, early after you have a baby, right, you're told you can't exercise for 6 weeks. And it is safe to do breath work though. And just by doing some really mindful breath work, I could feel my tummy getting, slowly smaller and tighter. And this has also worked really well with a lot of my female postpartum clients, even many years postpartum. Like I'm talking women who are like, oh, my kid's like 10, 15, even 20. And their mind is blown when I introduce this, because they didn't know about it. Breathing practice can also alleviate back pain, right? So I talked about your ribs being part of that inhale and exhale. I didn't explain why yet, but that's okay. We're getting there. But if you imagine sitting all day and your ribs are stiff because you're not using your full breath, if your ribs are stiff, it actually can contribute, well, it does contribute, not can, it will contribute to your mid back being stiff because your rib cage is attached to your T-spine. Your thoracic spine is a big part of your back. It's 12 bones, right? It's 12 bones, kind of from broad to like there. It's 12 bones. Sorry, not broad, base of your neck here. So your mid back is actually quite large, T-spine, and the rib cage attaches to it. So if your ribs are stiff because you're not breathing properly, your T-spine gets stiff, and then your T-spine, mid back, you know, it can cause pain. Let's see. Breath work also helps with sleep hygiene. You get better quality sleep when you practice breath work, and breathing also helps with focus. Your brain functions better when it's nourished properly, not only through food, but through proper breathing, your air nourishment. Okay, so let's get back to your paper. If you have your paper, bring it back. And let's see here. Okay, so let's do the nose first. If you were breathing in and out of your nose, that's awesome. You're just going to keep doing that. And if you noticed you were breathing with your mouth for parts of your breath, you're going to just try for 1 minute to breathe through your nose. Okay, I'll put my timer on. And of course, if you can't do it the whole minute, that's okay. We're just here to practice. Okay, ready? Go. You can close your eyes if that feels good. You don't have to be looking. We're just trying to keep the air flow in and out through the nostrils. Good job. Keep going. About 30 seconds left. Amazing. Good job. So that was your nose breathing, 1 minute. Awesome job. And let's take a note of your breath cycle. So let's say you had 20 breaths last time. You're going to try your best to do the same thing we just did, breathing through the nose. And of course, again, if you feel like you need to, you can use your mouth. And we're going to try, it doesn't matter which way you're breathing, nose or mouth. We're trying nose, right? But if you have to open your mouth, that's okay too. But either way, you're going to try to slow down the exhale. Okay. So then when you inhale and exhale, you're not like suddenly dumping it out. And we're going to count again. And just by lengthening the breath again, let's see if we can shorten the amount of breaths per minute. And it's okay if it doesn't change this time, okay? Here we go. Start your breathing. 1 minute, here we go. Just trying to lengthen that exhale by 1 or 2 beats, 1 or 2 counts. Same thing on that inhale. When we slow down the breath a little bit, it slows down the nervous system. It slows down the racing mind. it gives your body an opportunity to come back to that balance of rest and relax. You know, we spend all day go, 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 very busy, 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 very heightened states. Sometimes you don't even know you are. But right now we're just here to see if we can bring it down a little bit. All right, good job. That's 1 minute right there. Good. Write down your number, how many breath cycles you had. Again, don't feel like you failed or you didn't do well. If the number is the same, this is the first time probably that you're doing it. Okay. It's just good to have a record, you know, and then you can, when you practice next time, you can see the progression. And lastly, we checked in with our belly, rib cage, chest, right? So this is called the 3-part breath. And normally when we're not exercising or doing anything strenuous, then regular breath should feel like a little rise in the belly. Rib cage kind of expands side to side. Remember, rib cage is 360, right? And then lastly, the chest might puff a tiny bit. And then as you exhale, the opposite happens. Chest softens, rib cage comes down and in, and belly softens. So breathing in, breathing out. And if you don't feel it, it's okay. You can try to encourage a little bit. And I want it to be equal, like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, not this big balloon belly breath. So you may hear that a lot in yoga or exercise classes. Big belly breath in and exhale, sigh it out. Well, that's just like one part of it, but you don't want only belly breath. You want that rib cage to expand and move. You want a little puff in the chest. Chest is also, there's rib cages here too. Okay, if you dig under your collarbone, you've got ribs here. So you want that 3-part breath. And same thing on the exhale, right? The exhale, the chest softens, rib cage draws down and in, belly softens. Okay, so that is called the 3-part breath. All right, so we're actually running out of time, so I'll skip the bowl to score stuff for another workshop. That is actually pretty cool, but I'll save it for another time, obviously, if there's interest. So if you found this workshop really useful and you're struggling with pain or other aspects of your health, I offer a Move with Ease assessment call. It's totally free. It would be an opportunity for us to chat, get some clarity around what you've tried in the past hasn't worked, what your next best steps could be, so that you can finally live your life freely without feeling stuck in your stiff and sore body. So if you'd like to have a chat, I'll definitely provide you the link. So in the comments under this workshop, click I'm ready for a chat, or tell me more about the chat, and I'd be happy to send you my call scheduler link. And also feel free to let me know if you have any questions about anything I talked about today. Super, super excited to share this work with you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Bye for now.